Hi, today I'm going to talk about accessible Japanese form components with React. I'm Tafu Nakazaki from Tokyo, Japan. I'm an engineer at SmartHR Incorporated. I work on the product as a front-end engineer, and you can find me on Twitter at HawaiiMan0. Now, let's get down to the main topic. This will be today's agenda. First, how complicated administrative documents are. Secondly, challenges in human and resource management. Finally, how we confronted the challenges with SmartHR UI. Have you ever struggled with troublesome administrative procedures in your life? I'm sure that everyone has gone to the city office to go through procedures such as moving to a new place, registering a new family member, or a birth certificate. In Japan, as usual, these procedures are also very troublesome. This is a very common document in Japan. You have to fill in the form with your basic information such as name, age, address, and various other information for each document. And depending on the document, it may not be clear which information is to be filled in which fields. In such cases, I go to the back of the document to look for the answer. But as you can see from the amount of the text at a glance, the specifications are very complicated and very hard to understand. For example, those who are visually impaired or people who do not speak Japanese will not be able to understand the instructions, thus making it impossible for them to solve the problem on their own. This is a situation where the person is burdened with the irrationality of the society. Therefore, one of the goals of the company is to hack that by providing a cloud personnel labor software called SmartHR. SmartHR is a large-scale HR application. It was launched in 2015 with 40,000 companies so far and a churn rate of less than 0.5%. We started using React in 2018, about 4 years ago. We are providing this HR application, and this domain is unique in many ways, so I'll get into the details. Next is about challenges in the human resource and management. As I've already mentioned, there are many irrationalities in the administrative procedures in the area of human resource and management. We are providing this HR application to solve these irrationalities, but there are various complications inherent in providing this service. The first is that it is complicated. Each procedural document has detailed instructions on how to fill out the form, and in order to reproduce the specifications in a web form, complex state management and correlation validation are required. For example, there is a document called Rishokihyo, the document of unemployment, which has a table of input items like an Excel table, and the numbers of items is variable. These need to be implemented as web forms for each employee. In addition, the procedures themselves are various, and the input forms that make up the procedures also change, so they need to be adapted to each individual. The second is the inherent difficulty of having a variety of people using the system. The people who work for the company are diverse, and some of them are not sighted. When these employees are unfamiliar with the paperwork, it is difficult for them to read and understand it on their own, and they will be needing support. In this sense, it is meaningful to provide web-based services for procedures, which have been done with physical documents, and it is essential to consider accessibility when providing such services. However, what constitutes an accessible application is a difficult question to answer. The same goes for pushing forward with implementing and testing it. I mentioned the inherent difficulties of the human resource and management domain. First, the complexity, and second, the fact that it is used by many different people. Let's talk about how we face each of these challenges. The first challenge is complexity. As I've already shown you, we have these paper documents to be filled in with forms. Before React, forms were very difficult to implement using procedural JavaScript, and DOM manipulation was closely combined with the logic. In order to recreate the specifications of the form, there are many conditional branches for input depending on the state, and it would have been very difficult to fully express this with procedural JavaScript. But thanks to React, which can retain the state and switch the declarative UI depending on the state, we were able to implement it easily. Also, as a characteristic of the product, it is required to use optimized components in various situations, such as date pickers, that need to allow both Japanese and Western calendar input for date input. In order to address these issues, we have created our own UI component library, which I will explain later. Next is about the second challenge, user diversity. Specifically, I will talk about the issues of procedures that could only be carried out on paper. Paper-based procedures required human support, but with the web form, users can now choose screen readers and other options. However, this alone does not mean that the user is now aware of what they need to input, and this is not accessibility in the true sense of the word. In our company, a visually impaired employee actually went through the hiring process on the product, which brought to light the issues with the product itself, as you could see in the following short screen recording.
Content is empty. System has new system dialog. Chrome. Employee number. Your employee number. Edit text. You please fill in according to your format. Please fill. If you haven't decided on a format, it's a good idea to write down the 3-digit numbers in the order of joining the company. If you can change it later. Example: the president is 001 inches and the first employee is 002 inches. If you please employee number. Edit text. You are current 000 0001 0 0000 employee number 00001000. Insertion at end of text. Employee number. Edit text. Content is empty. System. You are telephone number. Insertion at end of text. Invalid data. Edit text. On dash. On dash. On dash. Example 03 0000 0000 090 0000 0000. On dash. Insertion at beginning of text. 0 3 on dash 0 0 0000 on dash 0 telephone number on dash 0 on dash 000 on 0 telephone number. You are currently on a text element.
As you saw in the example, when entering the employee number, the user must go through the input first to the hint message in order to understand the format to input the number. And for the phone number, the user cannot tell whether it is a single input field or multiple input fields until one passes through the input component. The status of errors, submitting, etc. are also not visible from the component just because of the order. These issues could be easily solved by understanding the importance of design structural information order of the labels, hints, status, information, and inputs. We are improving UI components to comply with accessibility standards. To summarize, there were two challenges: complexity and diversity. We have created a component library called SmartHR UI to absorb those two challenges. SmartHR UI is an in-house React UI component library. It is also an open source NPM package, which you could access the repository at github.com/kufu/smarthrui. Please take a visit after my talk if you're interested. As already mentioned, the UI component library has the advantage of being able to be distributed to each product, which has been highly effective in sense of developing product in the HR domain. One specific benefit is that by installing the library to the products and developing with it, we can easily improve the quality of the service and make it easier to implement accessibility. SmartHR UI is a React component library. This means that it can hold its status information of a component as a state. This can be used to pass information to semantics, such as an area label, to improve accessibility, which is a big advantage. Even though we are still in progress, the SmartHR UI library promotes WCAG Level A conformance for accessibility and is tested for it. So products that use this library will automatically improve their accessibility quality. However, there are still some issues to be addressed. Each product requires individual testing, and also each add-on application has its own domain-related features, such as graphs, tables, PDFs, etc. And it is difficult to make those components accessible. We would continue our efforts to improve Smart HR and make forms accessible to everyone so that they can complete their paperwork without human support. Thank you very much for your attention.